Hello, everyone. It's Jack Reeve and Chris Reeve here back for the TNC Podcast Live. It is Sunday, the 23rd of August. And we were just chatting going live about the first game of the season, and it is very quickly approaching. Chris, good to see you, my friend. We weren't on a podcast last week, so we've got a lot to talk about today. How are you?
Loved up, Jack. Pop the question.
What's a Poheta?
Yes. Signed the missus on a lifetime contract. Absolutely delighted to get that deal over the line. Good to get the business done early as well, ahead of the lifetime ahead. So it's been a good few days, mate. And you know what? I'm seeing a lot of really good Norwich City noise, both online and through social media, and also just the club accounts as well on YouTube. Some of the behind the scenes training stuff, and I must admit I'm feeling really energized ahead of the new season now. The kind of, I'm going to call it hype video, that I believe it's Jack edited in the club's video depth, absolutely smashed out the park, and it's that sort of thing that I think the fans really need ahead of the new season. The new kit's now out, of course, which is great. So I'm feeling good, Jack. What about you?
Yeah, very good, mate. In terms of the process of proposing to your girlfriend, your now lovely fiance, is it similar to how a football club, recruits a player? Is there a sort of an intrinsic recruitment process, and then you speak to their agent, and then the question's delivered? What's the contract like?
Well, absolutely, Jack. First and foremost, you've got to go to the agent, which was obviously Becky's mum and dad. And you've got to say to the agent, look, I'm interested in taking your daughter on a lifetime contract. Is that okay? Does it fit? And then, of course, you have to discuss personal terms as well. So, going through all of that, and the personal terms could quite often be an expensive ring, and that's one of the things that you've got to do as if you're in the transfer market. So, I guess there are similarities between the football transfer market and popping the question.
I love that. Loads of comments. Jamie Lovett, congrats on the engagement. Night Shift, congrats, Chris. Shire Emblem, congrats, Chris. Yeah, lots of love for Chris in the comment section. This isn't like a kind of marriage counselling session this evening. You are tuned in to the TNC Podcast Live. If you've got any questions for us, then please do feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll try and read them out. I've seen this comment crop up a few times. I'm going to quickly mention it at the top of the show. Yeah. Matt Gregory, Chris, is Jack locked in that room behind you? Now, that door behind you looks like this door. So, Matt, we're not in the same house, but we can see how that looks the way. Okay, let's get into it. I was trying to look. So we filmed our last TNT podcast 2 weeks ago. A lot has happened in that time. Let's start with the fixture list, because that's the thing that everyone gets excited about. And it is out, of course. The fixture list is out. So let me read you the first few fixtures for Norwich City. Now, of course, we have played our first pre-season friendly. And actually, let's start with that. It was Norwich City 6, Russell Martin's MK Dons 0. Now, granted, MK Dons were playing a lot of their youngsters. But, I mean, I'm optimistic about the season now, Chris.
You know what? I really don't like the comments of everyone. Everyone was just pissing on the bonfire. Like I saw so many people piss on the bonfire after that MK Dons result. Of course, behind closed doors at the Lotus Training Centre. We're not sponsored by Lotus, by the way, but Lotus, I'll reach out to you in the coming weeks. But why not? Why not get carried away? I mean, for God's sake, we've scored. I think it was Dave Freezer actually that actually tweeted saying we scored more goals against MK Dons than we did during the whole of the Premier League restart period or something like that. It was a mad statistic. So why not get carried away? Yes, Russ put out his youngsters, but why not? And I don't know about you, Jack, but that Anel turn, really, it genuinely aroused me. I got really quite excited watching that. And it's so good to get that confidence. And, credit to the Norfolk Cafu, Russ Martin, for giving his old boys the confidence. Obviously we dropped him a message beforehand and said, Russ, go on, give us an easy game. Our boys need all the confidence that they can get. But it was fun. It was a fun watch, wasn't it? I mean, certainly the highlights from what I saw, obviously MK Dons, they cannot defend to save their life without a shadow of a doubt. But It was really good. I'm buzzing for Josh Martin, really buzzing with that. I'm really excited about him actually next season. And look, maybe I'm calling this a bit too early, but sod it. I want to get carried away because we won 6-0 and we've been dross for months. Maybe Josh Martin will be that sort of Todd Cantwell breakthrough this season coming up. Maybe. For me, he could easily be that player. He's got all of the right key ingredients, I think, to bring the game to the opposition, providing that Daniel Farke plays that offensive, proactive brand of football that we know that he can and wants to play. I think Josh Martin is a very exciting prospect. And I mean, Anel Hernandez is just going to tear it up next season. I just hope he gets played, Jack.
I mean, you mentioned Josh Martin there and Onel Hernandez. I mean, we saw a few of the new signings as well, didn't we? We saw Daniel Sinani playing up front. We saw Kieran Dowell just in behind him. Poeta running down the wing. I mean, I know we have to take these pre-season games with a pinch of salt, but like you said, like we hardly scored any goals in the Premier League. Let's get excited about something. Scoring goals is fun, and we scored 6 of them. Yeah. But that front four, Sinani up front, I think that was more of an experiment. Dowell in behind, Poeta down the right, left, Martin down the right. It clicked beautifully, didn't it?
Daniel Sonati's having a party. You can fuck off Jamie Vardy. It's, I believe, a chant that could go through. I tell you what, Sinani scares me a bit, Jack. I don't know about you, but we need that.
I like that.
We need that bite, and Josip Dermic is going to paint a picture of me if I'm a defender. But Sinani, I mean, he looks like he could kill anyone any minute, and I think Norwich need that. Going to the Championship, he's a bit rough around the edges, and I love that. I'm so excited to see him bully Championship defenses next season. I really am.
I saw a journalist tweet out the other day. I can't remember who it was, but he'd watched Sinani play for his old club in the early stages of the Europa League. And he said the goals and the performances he saw from Sinani in them games, he said something like, Norwich fans, you've got a real player on your hand here. And he's the unknown, isn't he? Because we kind of know about Dowell. Poeta's got the pace.
Yep.
Quintilla, we've seen a little bit of in La Liga. Sinani, I've never heard of him before we signed him. And that's the excitement, isn't it? He could turn out to be an Emi Buendia, or he could be a Marcus Edwards. We just don't know. And that's brilliant.
It is indeed. But, look, he can't be any worse than Josip Dermic. So for me, he'll be a great player for us next season.
Definitely. Just a quick one. You may have saw the banner go up a moment ago on Kofi. Let me go that side. Other way, Chris. We're now accepting recurring payments. So if you want to get a question in for this show, drop us a Kofi donation. The link is in the top line of the description, or if you're watching on Facebook, on there. Drop us a Kofi, £3 or more. Put your question in there in your message. Hang on, that way.
Yeah.
No, there. And we'll read it out. It's easier to monitor the comments on there. Thanks very much. Okay, so that's the pre-season. Norwich have now flown out to Germany to play against Dynamo and Darmstadt on the 26th, which is on Wednesday, and then the 29th, which is Saturday. So 2 games out there, and then we're back, and then it is the start of the competitive season. It's all carnage at the moment. What would you like to see come out of that Germany trip? Players starting, formations, goals scored by a certain player. What would you like to learn from that?
Oh, Jack, you know what? The main objective for me is goals. I really want to see us take teams to the carpet cleaners. I really do. I don't care who scores. I don't get how he scores. I think this pre-season is all about confidence building, Jack. We have been on our arse, and I think to be expecting any sort of tactical prowess or us dominating play, I would just like to see us score lots of goals. I really would. And I'd like to see us, show what we can do. I'd like to see Daniel Farke experiment and play some different teams, which of course he will because it's pre-season. I want to see him start the new boys. I'm not actually that bothered about him starting anyone that played for us in the Premier League, to be very honest with you. We've almost signed a whole new starting 11 effectively. I know that obviously some will be in the under 23s, etc., but I'd like to see some of those boys be given a fair crack of the whip. I'd really like to see Pacheta on one side and Anel on the other. And for me, and Ballymumba, I'm so excited to see him as well. So I don't really mind, Jack. I just really want to see us try and get our confidence back, and that's why I don't care that we're overhyping that MK Dons result, because actually the fans need it, the players need it, everyone needs it. So for me, that's what the preseason trip is all about. But what do you think, Jack?
Yeah, we've said it before, haven't we? And I think fans should be excited after MK Don's performance, even if there's no kind of reason. If you look at the performance of the team we're against, we shouldn't be getting carried away. But in terms of just morale around the club, it was at rock bottom when we went down. We were without a win in 10. Well, we lost 10 straight games. We'd scored like one goal. There'd been multiple red cards, poor performances. You need to be going into a new season with your heads held high and with optimism, both the fans and the squad. Now, it's clear that we're not changing the manager. And often when a team goes down, you change your head coach, don't you? Yep. It looks like we're almost changing the squad. Now, if you bring in new players, they haven't experienced that relegation. So they're not worried about that. That isn't in the back of their minds. If you come down with a squad that has been relegated, and then you expect them to get straight back up, it's still in their back of them in the mind. So that kind of, I described it as toxic before. I don't think it's maybe a toxic atmosphere, but it's a negative atmosphere. We need to try and get rid of that. And like you say, a couple of good performances out in Germany, hopefully no injuries, because I know last pre-season we picked up a few injuries, didn't we? Tim Close got injured, and it was the start of start of the end almost.
Well, Jack, that's what worries me about that Luton game, because of course that we got the shit kicked out of us last time we played that fixture. It's less than ideal going into the new season, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that Luton game is almost just going to be a competitive friendly, because Luton aren't going to necessarily want to risk their best players ahead of the start of the season. They've got a few internationals. We have literally got, I think I read the list, and there's a possibility of nearly 20 players being on international duty. Yep. This from Night Shift. Krul is on international duty and Oxborough is injured. Who is going to be in goal for the first few fixtures? Well, at the moment, it will be Mickey McGovern, although he might be away on international duty as well. So it's a real shame about Aston Oxborough. I mean, I don't think he would have been here anyway. He was close to a loan move to Salford City, which would have been a fantastic move for him. Real shame that he's gone and ruptured his Achilles. He's going to be out for a lot of the season. So I expect there may be a new goalkeeper coming in. I don't know any of that, and I haven't heard any rumblings, but there'll probably be a new goalkeeper. But yeah, that first squad against Luton is going to be all over the shop, I think.
Yeah, it is, and it'll be somewhat of an entertaining watch for Norwich fans, actually, or hands over the eyes. Probably both, actually. A bit exciting, but a bit like, oh my god, what the hell is this team that we're playing? Just because we'll play whatever we've got, which is very much quite a scary one. Speaking of Jack, speaking of play what you've got. There's a comment on YouTube that I have to raise from Liam Stockel. Just want to say a big thank you to the mighty Auxilius for lending me a motor all the way to sunny Scotland. Thanks very much.
Liam, if your company wants to sponsor the channel, then we'll give you recurring shout outs throughout the season if you like. Chris, I want to speak about there's been a lot of players come through the door, not many leave at the moment. I'm sure the next couple of weeks it's going to be hotting up. Now we know that Tribal and Leitner and Dermich and Vrancic are the ones who are free to leave if they wish. The ones I'm really interested in now is our big money assets, the Emi Buendias, the Jamal Lewises, because I've read today from Alan Nixon, quite a reputable journalist, saying that Leeds have moved their attention away from Emi Buendia because Norwich was demanding too much cash. Now we've heard that narrative before with Jamal Lewis. Do you think we could be going into the start of this season with Emi, with Jamal, with Ben, with Max, with Todd? Or do you think there will still be interest from other clubs?
No, I don't think we'll be going to the season with all of those players. I definitely don't. And actually, you know what? I'm really surprised, actually, because I was told some information from an extremely valuable, valid source at the football club going into the back end of last week. And I was very, very surprised that there was 2 players rumoured to come in over the weekend. Only one of which arrived. I'm surprised that we've not signed a centre back yet. I really am. I would have expected that to have been done by now.
Is that coming then?
Look, I don't have any more information. The information I was provided at that time was that a centre back and possibly even a striker was going to be done last week, and it wasn't. And perhaps
that centre back Javi Quintilla?
It could well have been. I don't think it was, because I was told that it wasn't going to be. Neither of which will be unknowns, whatever that means. And so I actually think that there's probably been some issues there. I'm of course speculating here, but I was told firmly that it was going to be a very exciting weekend. And of course, we obviously Xavi came in, and that's great. But I would still expect a couple. And actually what I'm starting to think now, Jack, in line with your comment about players out, I'm thinking that a lot of our remaining transfer business in terms of bringing those 2 players in does depend on who we expect to go out. And I actually think that the club may well have expected a couple of players to be snapped up already. Of course, due to the COVID and the financial circumstances that every club is in, apart from the top 6, which is why Liverpool's offer was a complete piss take. All of those football clubs are going to be, purse pinching, and they're going to be a wee bit worried about how much they're spending and how much they're pushing out. There could well be a situation, Jack, where we find, maybe 3 of those 5 expected players to leave start for Norwich City next season. But for me, I always say that I want players at this football club that really genuinely want to be here. Now, with all the love and respect in the world, there are players within that pack of Wolves, Jack, that you've said are expected to leave. There's at least 3 players there that I'm very confident have told lots of people that they want to leave this football club, and I do think so. I'll be very, very surprised if Max stays. Very surprised. There's some absolutely huge clubs in for him. And actually, I would be surprised if Jamal was as well. And that's obviously why we've signed Xavi. That's why we've signed Ballymumba. So obviously, Stuart knows that it's highly unlikely that we'll lose those players. I think Todd will stay. I think at the moment, and actually, I've said it from day one. I've been absolutely buzzing to see Todd Cantwell, back in the Championship, because I think he'll destroy the Championship if we can keep hold of him. He will be a key player for us next season.
Definitely, I think Emi Buendia. If we manage to keep hold of him, then that's miraculous. And I'd love to keep one of Max and Jamal. I know that it looks like Ben Chilwell will be leaving Leicester, so that maybe opens up a slot for a needed left back there. Jamal could be there. Who knows? Matt Gregory. Now I was going to come on to this. Was it Gibson and Jordan Hugill? Now, of course, Ben Gibson and Jordan Hugill both linked with Norwich City. Apparently, there was firm interest regarding Jordan Hugill. Now, I saw a lot of people quite, underwhelmed by the Jordan Hugill news. I was quite excited about the fact. Now, I know he's not the most exciting of players, but he's had Championship experience. He's different to what we've got. He's a target man. He's got a 1 in 3 ratio in the Championship, scored well over 30 goals. And the rumoured fee was around 2 million with add-ons. Apparently, West Ham are demanding at least 5 million. And I think that is too expensive. But it looks unlikely to happen now. But Chris, what was, Jordan Hugill, I wasn't against him coming to Norwich. Were you?
No, not at all. I was very surprised at the response of the Norwich fans. One of the things that the majority of people criticised last season, watching the shoddy football that we were served up, is there was no plan B. It was very obvious. Our bench was weak. There was nothing kind of physical. There was nothing that could provide something different, give us a different edge. We had basically a bit of pace on the bench in Anel Hernandez, but because he wasn't starting, which is criminal. But apart from that, there wasn't really anyone, in my humble opinion, that could provide something completely different and allow our whole team, Jack, to play in a different way, not just one individual, but by playing one player up top, for example, or on the left. That means that we reshape and actually then teams then don't know what to expect, and to reshuffle a whole team because of one player, I think can cause way more problems. Now, I was very excited by the rumours of Hugel coming in. I thought that he's got that experience, which again, Jack, we've said we need someone that knows the league, that isn't going to piss around, that's not a pushover, that's not writing music in their spare time. We need someone that's going to have a physical edge, and I think he was that man. Why not? I'm not saying I want Chris Hughton style football back at Norwich, but I'm saying I do actually want a brick shithouse up top. And one of the things that,
or at least have that option.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And I think, when, for example, one of the things that I noticed when we played Crystal Palace away and also Watford away last season is our team is really small and really agile. And actually, we can do all of the nimble twists, turns, passing, and that's great. But sometimes you have got to play to your opposition, because they are so dominant in one area. You've got to be able to actually pivot to that, and I didn't see we had that option. So for me, I'm all up for signing a striker like that next season. But let us know in the comments what you think. Do you want to see us bring in a player like Hugel?
Yeah, definitely. I think, Chris touched it up there. I think we just need that plan B. Adam Eder could be that target man, possibly. I just think I don't think Dermich will leave. So I think we will have Dermich in the squad next season. And Farke will obviously want something out of him. And you've got Pukki, who I still think is our first choice. And you've got Adam Eder, who we know is a fantastic player, but is still very young and lacks experience. I would have liked to have seen Hugel. There may be still time to get another striker in. I think £5 million was steep. If we could get him for a bit cheaper, I would take him. Chris, this comment keeps popping up. Let's talk about it. J Field 97, Onel Hernandez runs down the wing for me. I mean, this isn't a niche opinion from us. I mean, I think everyone's of a similar mindset this season. This could be a big season for Onel Hernandez, couldn't it? I'm so excited, but at the same time, because of last season, and maybe I'm being a bit of a Debbie Downer here, I'm just so afraid that Farke's not going to play him, and that really would worry me. If you're not starting an El Hernandez in the Championship, I think you've got some issues. I really do. Where do I begin? Very, very physical. When he gets running with the ball, he is just like no one's going to catch him, and that's true. And as well, and I saw a comment on Twitter, and forgive me for forgetting who actually said it, but someone said something like, the thing is with Onel is that because he doesn't know what he's doing, no one can predict it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
If you're watching videotapes back of Onel Hernandez, is he going to cut in left? Is he going to cut in right? Is he going to try a pirouette? Is he going to try and nutmeg you? Is he going to stop and pull it back? No one really knows, and that's what I love about Onel. And do you know what I love about Onel? Just how much he loves Norwich City Football Club. And I'm not just talking about, and a lot of people say, well, he's just putting that on social media. No, he loves Norwich City Football Club. He's so blooming grateful for the opportunity that this club has given him to really kick his career on. And I hope and I pray that Daniel Farke starts him in the Championship next season, because he will bully, and I mean bully, Championship defences for fun. Yeah,
definitely, mate. I mean, if people haven't watched it, it must have been over a year ago now that we filmed a podcast with Onel. But from that podcast alone, you could just tell how much it meant to him. And a lot of them players that came in at a similar time to Onel, it was very much Farke and Webber and the club giving these players a second opportunity. Like Onel admitted that he'd made mistakes in his, in his past. It was the same with Tribal, Leitner, all of these players who helped us gain promotion. Even with Pukki, they'd had their moment, and then for whatever reason they'd gone off the boil, and now this was their chance, and they took it, and they got to the Premier League. The league in which everyone wants to play for, and you have to hope now that the Ollie Skips, the Javi Quintillas, the Puemiswa Pojetas of the world are of a similar cut, that they will want this opportunity to really kick on, further their career, and hopefully further the football club.
One of the players that I have to mention, because you just mentioned him, and somehow I've forgotten him, Jack, but I feel like we have to talk about him, is Skip. I was really excited by bringing Dowell in, really excited. I think that obviously, again, Championship experience, banged goals in quite consistently. And I was really excited by that. But Skip, at first I looked at it and I went, cool, blimey, that's quite good. That's decent, bringing a player of that quality with that credentials from that football club down to the Championship. And then I spoke to Max and I said, Max, talk to me about Skip, because he'd played with him in the, I think it's the England under-21 setup. And yeah, just speaks to him in general. And Max said to me, he was literally, it's unfair for me to like read the exact messages, but he was like, I am buzzing by this, Chris. He is such a top player. I cannot even begin to talk to you. And he was like, I don't really want to big him up before he plays, but he is honestly one of the best players within my age bracket. And I was like, bloody hell, like a player of Max's credentials saying something like that, that really does get me excited. It really does.
Definitely. I mean, the last time we spoke on this podcast, it was the evening in which Ethan Ampadu, we thought was coming to the football club and then wasn't coming to the football club within a few hours. And in terms of like positionally, Oliver Skipp's very similar, maybe not quite as far progressed as Ethan Ampadu just yet, but he's played at each level of England's youth setups. He's played quite a lot of games for Spurs considering his age. He's played Champions League football. I mean, that's marvellous at his age. So, you know, if we can keep him fit, as long as the loan deal works, Tottenham fans, I think it was Pochettino said he's a future Spurs captain. I mean, that's exciting, isn't it? You need leaders in the squad. We've said that before. We need another holding midfielder. Yeah. Went off the boil slightly for Tribal last year. Tete hasn't got it in him to be playing 2-3 games a week. So if this transfer works, it's going to be an exciting one, Chris.
Yeah, it is. You mentioned a player there, and I don't know, mate. Everyone might shout me down for this, and maybe I'm getting what I deserve now, but I'm so surprised at the Tom Tribal decision. I'm so surprised at it. Statistically speaking, one of our best midfielders. Everyone knows my opinion. I still think he's our best CDM that we've got. I'll take anyone to the sword over that. I really will. And I've been really surprised to hear that the club want Tribal out, and it makes me think, you know, what's gone on behind the scenes to you know, because I still draw back to that Leeds performance. I know that was a couple of seasons back now, but I still think what a player to have in the Championship. Someone that's really aggressive, that's not afraid to make a tackle. And look, maybe they've switched up and maybe they've said, look, Tom's had his time and it's time to move him on, and that's fair enough. But I don't know. I've got a few question marks over that, Jack. I must admit, I get Moritz Leitner. I understand that completely. I obviously would understand Josip Dermic. You know, that to me makes sense. But Tom Tribal is a player that loves being at Norwich, and obviously, you know, you've seen through his charity work and all of that stuff. You know, so I don't know. It's kind of surprised me a little bit to see that Tom's been told supposedly that he can move on.
Yeah, I think, you know, there was a little line you said there. Maybe it is just a case of freshening things up. Like, Tom was one of the early Farke signings. He's been here for 3 seasons. I mean, it's rare in modern football, isn't it, that a player goes more than 3 seasons at a football club. And he's been a brilliant servant. I think his performances in the Premier League, I think he would have been slightly disappointed with them, but all of the players would have been. So, yeah, him and Anna have got, you know, their first baby on the way. Maybe they want to be back in their homeland of Germany. So you just don't know. They're very complex. I love Tom Tribal as well. I think on his day, he is a real asset to have, especially in the Championship. But if Oliver Skipp's here, then, you know, that's something to be very excited about, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you know, one of the things that I've been very, very impressed with by Stuart Webber, you know, obviously he got a lot of criticism for his recruitment last season, but this season, one of the main things was actually quantity, not just quality, but quantity. We needed to completely gut the squad, and that's why I'm actually surprised that quite a lot of the players haven't been moved on yet. You know, surely we would expect some of our players to be picked up within the next week and a half tops, Jack. You know, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I didn't see Jamal or Max get on that bus today in the club content. Maybe I'm just making something out of nothing there, but yeah, I'm so excited by the fact that we've signed a lot of new players. I really am. And by the way, because of the injury to Aston now, maybe we bring in another goalkeeper. I don't know.
Definitely.
I don't know.
It's funny, isn't it? That, like, every single piece of content that goes out on the club channels now. You're just looking for little clues about who's coming, who's going. You're looking at the flight trackers. It's a very exciting time of the year. Jack Palmer with a good question here. Let's have a little discussion on this. He says, how significant is Grant Hanley going to be to our season? A cracking championship defender. Now, Chris, let's look at the defence as a whole then. Let's speculate that Max, Jamal and Ben won't be here. Maybe they all will be, who knows? But let's just say that they're not going to be here for the first league game of the season, which is Huddersfield in around 3 weeks' time. How do you see it lining up? So we've brought in Quintilla, we've brought in Mumba, McCallum. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone there.
There's too many to remember, isn't there?
There's too many. I mean, the centre-back pair. Let's start with the centre-backs. Zimmerman, Close, Hanley, maybe Quintilla can play there. Who knows? Who would you like to see start?
Mate, I'll tell you one thing for free. Hanley's straight in there for me, 100%. I totally agree with that question. I think Hanley absolutely can be a massive player. And by the way, we missed his leadership on the pitch when he was injured last season massively. I just remember seeing that own goal on the first day of the season thinking, bloody hell, so desperately unlucky. And I know people say, well, that just says it all, but I don't think it does. I think, I remember signing Grant Hanley and being so excited, and I still have that excitement. I remember, Jack, I think it was it his debut against Ipswich away?
Well, it was early on, yeah.
I think it might have been.
It may have been.
I'm wrong, but I remember Hanley coming on as a sub against Ipswich, and he was wearing bright pink boots. And I've never seen a centre-back run as fast as Grant Hanley. And then, of course, we then saw that in the reverse fixture when Ipswich came, when it was the, oh, no! When Grant Hanley sprinted faster than our midfielders, by the way, to get that ball, to cross that ball in for Timmy Kay to bosh it in. Grant Hanley is on the team sheet for me, and he has to start with Christoph Zimmermann. I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am to see Christoph Zimmermann in yellow next season. I'm buzzing for it. I remember, honestly, I was so angry when West Ham just completely hacked him away in that away fixture at the London Stadium. I was really pissed off with West Ham. And I was really pissed off that the referee didn't even pull it up for a yellow. I think it was Sebastian Haller.
It was,
and just from there, Jack, we just saw Christoph Zimmermann unfortunately just got smashed. He just got absolutely smashed. And when he came back into that squad, was it the Manchester United Cup game where he came back into the lineup? Could be wrong there. But I remember seeing Christoph Zimmermann come back and just made some absolutely fantastic challenges. And I'm just so excited to see him back in that centre-back position. In terms of your wing backs, it depends who stays, doesn't it, Jack? I'm really excited by McCallum. I think he has got so much latent potential. I think that is a genius transfer from Stuart Webber. It really is. In terms of Xavi, I mean, he could be anything, couldn't he? He could be the next Javier Garrido. Who knows? I'm excited to see him though, nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. Most people in the comments saying they'd love to see. Sorry?
Byram, by the way, Bevan777 says Byram. I've completely forgot about Sam Byram. Surely he starts if Max goes, Jack.
The thing that we've got with almost all the net players we've named there in Hanley, Zimmerman and Byram, they've just been so injury prone. And the one thing that you need more than any position on the pitch is your defense. You need that consistency. It was one of the big reasons, I think, why Sheffield United was so successful in the Premier League. They hardly made changes to their squad. And I don't think we would have done it if we had players fit. And there are, of course, going to be injuries in the Championship because of the amount of games and the amount of cup games and the sheer less amount of time you've got in between them games. There are going to be injuries, but for the most part, if you can keep your centre-backs and your wing-backs fit, that was why we were so successful in the Championship. Max and Jamal, so crucial to the squad. Such athletes stayed fit for the season. This is an interesting one. George Hudson says, I don't see why Famewo isn't given a chance. Now, I must admit, I don't know too much about Famewo, but from what I've heard from the club, he's kind of in that Josh Martin category of the ones they're really excited to see break through. And I think he came on against Man City, didn't he?
Yeah, and I know Holty massively bigged him up as well to me. And I think that, again, a top prospect coming through the ranks at Norwich. Personally, I don't think he's going to be able to compete with the likes of Christoph Zimmerman and Grant Hanley. But, potentially a good substitute. I'm really interested to see what happens with Tim Close, Jack. It's a question mark that, look, maybe I'm overthinking it, but for me, there's a question mark there now, because I now see a player that obviously got badly injured in the Premier League, being relegated a couple of times, hasn't played enough football, was really poor. And I'm sure by his own admission would say he was really poor in that Premier League restart. And I don't know if we can actually afford to keep a player on that sort of wages on the bench. Look, obviously, of course, a fantastic leader behind the scenes, but I'm just saying I'm really interested to see what happens with Tim Close, because on his day, and I know people criticize me for that, but on his day, Tim Close is an awesome defender. I'll never forget that game against Newcastle where he scored in the Premier League. Remember that Colaccini played for Newcastle. I think actually that was against Tim Krul, by the way. But actually, so I don't really think.
So okay, so you're interested to see what happens with him. Let's put you on the spot. What would you do?
Oh God. Well, I tell you what, Jack. I can't do anything until we sign a new centre back. I disagree with people saying I don't see why we want a centre back. We need to sign a centre back. We were leaking goals in our title-winning campaign in the Championship. Yeah, we were leaking goals in the Premier League. It's still an area of development for us, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think it's unfair to chuck Famwo in and expect him to start keeping clean sheets. And I'm not sure necessarily that. And by the way, we've not even spoken about Ben Godfrey. Ben Godfrey and Tim Krul. Is that working? Will that work in the Championship? How does that dynamic work? That now, obviously, he's Rio's boy and he's now gone down a league. So is he going to have half an eye on an exit? Another thing that we need to speak about, I'm all over the place, Jack, but I'm full of excitement.
Quickly, before I forget, Matt Weir says Sorensen is an option centre-back. Played there at his last club. Now, I'd completely forgotten. I'm really excited to see Sorensen play. Apparently a very versatile defensive midfielder, centre-back. Who knows? I mean, we've seen, Marcel Frankers of the world and Philip Heiss has come in and we've been excited and they haven't quite worked out. Sorensen, I'm really excited to see him play football. Go on, Chris, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I am as well. Just quickly on Sorensen, actually, before I mention the January transfer window, Jack.
January?
Yeah, I'm going January transfer. Or whenever the next transfer window is after this, because I think it's key. Hang on a minute. Jens Bertolaska, of course, who used to play for Norwich. Of course, we had him exclusively on our audio pod. I said to Jens, I sent him a link to the announcement of Sorensen. I said, right, Jens, give me the lowdown. And he went, what do you want to know? He's a talented, dynamic player who can play the physical as well as the technical part of the game, which is interesting because it's quite clear to see in our signings, Jack, that perhaps we have gone for some physicality, potentially. He has not had the best season this year, but last season he was very good. He has a good right foot as well. Good working rate, fantastic attitude. Of course, he needs to adapt to the tempo and intensity, but I think he'll be fine. I'm looking forward to seeing him develop at Norwich. So I think the reason why I wanted to read that message is he's got the blessing from a fellow Dane that he's a top player and that he can reach those heights. But I'm not sure we should expect. Look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's an absolute worldie. I really do. But with regards to Sorensen, I think we should kind of simmer down a little bit on him and not expect too much from him next season. But Jack, I wanted to talk about the January transfer window because a lot of people that we're expecting to leave might not leave in the summer because of the tight turnaround. And I don't think the teams will have enough time to do the buying and selling. I think that's going to be a really complex process for most clubs. And actually what I think we might see is some clubs being quite top heavy on one department and really weak on the other, which will make for a really interesting first half of the season because they won't be able to get transfers done in time, but yet they need the money. So it's going to be a really interesting dynamic. But I could easily see, Jack, that, we speak about those 5 players, Todd, Ben, Max, Jamal, Emmy. in the January transfer window, potentially that's when we see those big bids coming in. And potentially that's why it might be good that we do everything we can to keep hold of the likes of Max and Jamal, because their price will rise 100%, because I've no doubt that Jamal and Max will easily boss the championship if we manage to keep them.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, isn't it? Because we've never business has never been done at this kind of period of time. Plus, with COVID going on, you've got such a quick turnaround into the new season. So teams are wanting to get players in quickly. And if that isn't possible, then maybe they're just like, well, we will wait till January because we don't want to rush a player into our squad, which will be absolutely fascinating to see. Quickly, one more plug on this. Ko-fi, we are on Ko-fi. It's a one-off donation service. You can help with the running costs of Talk Norwich City. The link is at the top line of the description on YouTube and also Facebook. Leave a comment in there. Hang on. There, and we'll read it out on the stream. Very much appreciated. Thank you to everyone who's already done so. Okay, kit. What do we make of the kit, the new kit?
Mate, honestly, I'm really pleased that we're not pissing around with any nonsense. I'm really pleased we've gone back with
not like this then.
Just nothing risky. Yeah, the championship next season for us is no nonsense. We're not pissing around anymore. We're going to be physical. We're going into it. We're going to attack the league, and that kit brings back fantastic memories for me. Of course, finishing 12th in the Premier League in that kit, Jack, one of my favourite campaigns. I know that it was under Chris Hughton, but still, we had some wonderful memories that season. Beating
that was Lambert that year, you know.
Ooh, was it? Let us know in the comments. Potentially, I'm wrong.
I thought
it was Chris Hughton because that was Holtby's last season, but again, I could be wrong there. I'm pretty certain it was Hughton. I think you're wrong, Jack.
Okay. Do you want a fiver on it?
Yeah, go on then. Fiver.
Okay.
I'm telling you now that kit is really getting me going. It's really getting me going.
I like it. I bet the release video got you going as well. Quite artistic, up your street, I think.
Yeah, you know, Jack, a bit of.
Here we go. It was Lambert. Lambert. The only reason I remember it is because it was the kit in which Steve Morrison scored that goal against Arsenal in, and that was Lambert.
Okay, all right, maybe I'm wrong. And by the way, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm really happy to be wrong, guys. I'm not afraid to show vulnerability.
But he'd love to be right.
Of course, without a shadow of a doubt. No, mate, I'm happy with that kit. I think it got some criticism as always, which is just a complete bore off of, oh, why isn't it something different? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Like, for God's sake, it's a kit. It's yellow and green. Like, you know that you're going to buy it anyway because you love the football club.
Yeah.
Stop moaning. The kit doesn't matter. The players matter. Let's start moaning about the kit when we're trying to break into the top half of the Premier League, maybe. But when we're trying to bounce back into the Prem after having an absolutely shoddy restart, for me, the kit's great. It's yellow and green. It's stylish, and it brings back great memories.
The only thing I think won't be good on that kit are the numbers and the letters that EFL have released. Like, the style just clashes so badly. I think Chris Gorham's going to have an absolute nightmare, like reading some of the names of unknowns at Wickham next season. I think he might struggle.
Well, mate, I'm not going to lie. I don't even think I'm going to try. No offense, but Placetta for me, I'm just going to call him PP.
PP, nice.
I'm just going to call him PP because I just can't learn that name. I'm very, very impressed by it. But yeah, as you say, I think Chrissy Gorham's going to struggle. But the numbers on the back, somewhat of a potentially a vintage Brazil samba vibe coming through there, and could potentially make us more skillful on the pitch. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to even on the highlight video the other day when. A lot of our new players, I'm still, getting used to who they are. From the back, I was like, who's that? I can't see. And I had absolutely no idea. Harvesto Game says, what was the result of the net colour? Or has that not been announced? Now, you have the opportunity as Norwich fans to vote on the colour of the net next season. Now, there's three options. Keep the nets white.
No. There's only two options.
Keep the nets white, striped yellow and green, or just yellow. I voted for stripes. Did you?
What? Guess, Jack. What do I stink of?
I think you would have gone stripes.
Yeah, I went for stripes, Jack. I did indeed. You know, I think for me, stripes is something different, and I'm up for stripes. I just think white is tragic. Anyone that goes, I want white nets, I don't want to change it. I want my white nets. Like, oh, come on, bore off. Come on, let's spice it up. Let's get the stripes on there. TNC is officially Team Stripes. Let us know in the comments what you are. But Jack, I must say though, by the way, I wouldn't mind if it was yellow. I just really don't want white. Maybe we need some strategical voting here, Jack, potentially.
Definitely. I think everyone in the comments I've seen have put stripes. I must admit, though, like some people are very, very passionate about the colour of the net. I'm going to put it out there. I don't really care. Maybe it's because I've grown up just seeing white nets and, you know, people of the 90s. Maybe it's that nostalgia that gets people so passionate. But
that's why I want to see it, Jack, because I was never blessed enough to see the 90s. And Norwich City in the 90s had some amazing seasons. Of course, Munich, of course. And for me, I just want to see it. But the good news is, Jack, that most of the people that will vote for white nets will be sipping their Bovril in the Jeffrey Watling stand, so therefore won't even have access to the internet. So it's likely that the result will be yellow or striped. Either
might be able to sort of fax their votes in. I'm not too sure. Kev Banham, this is very true. Kev says stripes, although doesn't really matter as long as we hit the back of those nets.
Love that.
Okay. Let's sort of wrap things up then. I've got a feeling when we meet next Sunday on this podcast again, there's going to be a lot more to talk about with ins, without. We would have seen a Norwich City pre-season game. Let's hope we're not talking about a season-long injury to some player. In the next week, what would you like to see in Norwich City? Where's the progression? What would you like to see happen?
I want to see players sold. That's what I want to see, Jack. I want to see us
a big player or like a player that we want to get rid of.
Just want to see us recoup some of the money that we're supposedly bigging up, saying that, you know, our players are capable of. I do what it sounds a bit weird, Jack, but I just kind of want out with the old and in with the new. I really do. I think we need that freshen up to the squad. So for me, within the next week, that's what's going to excite me the most, weirdly. But knowing that if we can sell, I'm pretty sure that's going to make a big difference to who we can bring in this summer as well. So for me, I'm super excited for the next week, and I'm sure that next time that we speak on the pod, Jack, there'll be lots to talk about as always.
Definitely. Let's go out with a really important question. Chaz Tats, boys, need some advice. What sort of takeaway am I getting to watch the UEFA Champions League final later? Now, I'm excited for this Champions League game. It's Bayern Munich against PSG. Who knows? Max Aarons might be in that Bayern Munich squad next season. For me, Chaz, I'm going for here. I'm just going to get some fish and chips, I think. No, I'm not personally. But I think if you're sitting down in front of the telly, it's going to be on your lap. You don't really want an Indian. You need that from a table.
Oh,
a Chinese, I'm never much of a fan of. It's a bit greasy for me. Never quite agrees with the stomach. I think get some chips, get a nice large bit of cod, some mushy peas, lots of salt and vinegar on the chips, and dig in. Enjoy the game.
For me, Jack, that's such a Yarmo boy answer. It really is. That's a proper.
Yeah, fish and it's just because you can't get good fish and chips in Norwich, mate.
Mate, that's so Brexit. Excuse me, we've got Grosvenor Fish and Chip Shop. That's an award-winning fish and chip shop. When was the last time that any fish and chip shop in Yarmouth won an award? I tell you, maybe the 1950s, 60s.
Yeah, but mate, the fish doesn't have as many air miles coming from Yarmouth. You know, straight out of the North Sea.
Jack, there has been a lot of. By the way, Peaky NCFC on YouTube says, "Wow, Surrey has made him so posh."
What fish and chips?
Yeah, no, but we all know where he's coming from, you know, Jack. You know, I think you've left your Norfolk roots behind there a little bit.
Fish and chips is the most Norfolk takeaway you can get.
No, there's a lot of shouts in the comments, Jack, that Champions League final takeaway is a pizza, and I must admit,
no.
I've got to disagree. I think, look, I don't agree with that, and I'll give you my answer in a minute. But I think a pizza is a solid response. And if you're celebrating a goal, the last thing you need is a wet Chinese kind of bopping up in the air and spitting all over your whites. But for me, I'm actually going Indian. An Indian is leagues and leagues above any other takeaway. You cannot go wrong with an Indian. It's just such a solid performance.
Yeah, no, Chris, I love an Indian, right? And if we're talking about a go-to takeaway, for me, it is the Indian. I think it's an absolute standout. But this is important. It's the occasion. This is a Champions League final.
For every weekday order, mate. I'd order fish and chips every night, for God's sake. Like,
granted, Chaz Tapter said I'm a Yarmouth boy myself, but I don't think fish and chips is the one. Well, look, Chaz, it's your dinner. Let's quickly stay on this Domino's point. I think Domino's and Papa John's, whoever, is the most overpriced food. Now I know you get your 2-for-1s or whatever.
You do.
The markup on these pizzas must be absolutely outrageous, and I've never felt fulfilled after a Domino's. I just felt so greasy and horrible.
Wow. Grant Holt was satisfied, and for me, that's enough for me. Mate, the thing that I don't get right.
By the way, I just want to quickly say, and this sums our audience up beautifully. This is the most interaction we've had all night. People are so exhilarated on the thought of a takeaway.
I tell you what, though, Chinese for me is relegation fodder, absolute relegation fodder. You know what annoys me about Chinese, and let me know in the comments if you disagree. My Chinese always goes cold. Like, it goes cold so much quicker. I don't know what it is about an Indian, but it
holds the heat.
It stays warmer for longer, and perhaps that's the spice, perhaps it's not. But for me, a solid nata, dipping it in the sauce of an Indian is absolutely nothing better.
I think hopefully something we can all agree on here is George, who says tiger beer with the curry. I love going to the curry house and getting a kingfisher or a tiger quickly as well. We have had a Ko-fi donation, so let's quickly answer that. James Rennie says, hi chaps, loving the content as always, hoping you can get some really interesting interviews with a couple of the squad newbies over the course of the coming season. Keep up the good work. Well, it wasn't a question in the end, a statement. James, thank you so much. I think you've donated before, mate, so thank you. We would love to get some interviews. We are trying to work closely with the club in order to get some of them. Who'd be your dream interview, Chris?
What, next season?
Yeah.
Cool. That's different. I still really we will interview Delia Smith one day, so I'm really excited for that. Whenever that comes, that's going to be absolutely incredible. It really is. I don't know, Jack. That's quite a tough one, actually. I think Kenny McLean would be a great interview. Actually, I think he'd be great, and potentially one of the new boys as well, providing that they can speak English. I'm all up for it. I think actually, Jack, we've interviewed the player with the most personality in the squad in Anel Hernandez. And if you haven't watched that, go over and watch it now. It's one of our most viewed podcasts, and that was absolutely fantastic. So that would be great. So maybe one of those players, Jack.
Massively. I just want to quickly shout out to Gary Riches on Ko-fi. He hasn't asked a question, but he, I think he's our top donator ever. So thank you to Gary, and also Jared as well, who's gone in there as well. Thanks to everyone who had, here's Jared as well, just nipped off to vote for Stripes and set up a monthly subscription to Ko-fi. So thanks very much, mate. Another Team Stripes member. This is another one. I'm going to leave this here, and I don't want a reaction to this, Chris. Okay. McNally interview, please. Would love to hear his side of the story. Me too, my friend. Me too. Thanks very much for watching. I will. We'll see you next Sunday. We're going to be doing another TNC podcast live. Hopefully, Chris doesn't go and propose again. That's done now, so that's out of the way. So that's good. No, this is a good one. Matt Gregory, Onel Hernandez on Chris's stag do. Imagine the scenes. Imagine the scenes.
Mate, and Onel Hernandez in Ibiza, by the way, would be what a performance that will be. We'll get, by the way, Jack, we've got to do a match day experience on my stag do in Ibiza, because it will probably be during the season as well. So we'll have to do that, mate.
Okay, definitely. Whatever takeaway you're getting tonight, enjoy it. I tell you what I want to see. I want to see people tweet their UEFA Champions League final takeaways, tag Talk Norwich City with the hashtag
What hashtag are we going for, Jack?
TNC takeaway.
TNC takeaway. Love that.
Definitely.
Brilliant.
Yeah, get your takeaway. Now, we're not kind of encouraging unhealthy eating, but for tonight, it's Champions League night. It only happens, once a year, doesn't it? Get them in. Someone also said you've still got time to get a Sunday roast in. I mean, you're not going to be slow cooking your lamb in 2 hours, put it that way, but who knows? Who knows? Thanks very much for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next week. Subscribe if you're not already. On home straight to 20,000 subscribers. Enjoy the game. See you later. Bye-bye.